Asteroid of fear.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Man of the House podcast. What's up? What's up? Hey, welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to another episode of Unfiltered Friday. And thank you for sharing your time with me. Yeah. So, why are we here? Okay. All right. What are we going to use this episode for? Well, let's start by talking about format. I know I've been playing with the format lately, trying to decide, and I've come up with a decision. So, Unfiltered Fridays, the way we're going to do them is Unfiltered Friday will be released at midnight on Friday. And come Monday, it will go behind the subscription on Buzzsprouts on that site. So, yeah, we're going to do interviews on Mondays, Unfiltered Fridays on Friday, of course. You can get the whole weekend to get that in. And if you don't, then you can roll over to Buzzsprouts and hit up $5 a month. You get a $5 subscription. That's going to give you all the Unfiltered Fridays and all the solo stuff that I'm putting back there. Yeah. So, decisions. Um, where are we? So let's see. We are on 717, 718 when this drops tomorrow at midnight. So we're looking roughly at 8 days. 8 days away from the podcast being 2 years old. Shh. That's the roar you hear. Everybody hear the roar? That's me patting myself on the back. You can see me on camera, patting myself. Good job, good job. 2 years, 2 years. So, um, yeah, with 2 years approaching, I worked the first year. Um, the first year was kind of just getting started, getting rolling. And at some point in time, I was like, I went from these kind of little solo rants to think I got a couple of guests. Then I joined Podmatch and it was guest galore. Boom, boom, boom. And so then I was releasing guests. And then we had the thing with Buck. I had to, reschedule the guests. And then I was doing a lot of solo episodes. Told the whole story of my journey. We did some caregiving chronicles. There's a lot of stuff in there. I pretty much broke down my life story in decades, kind of, somewhat, probably less than decades, these periods of memorable moments. And, but I think I'm at 140 something episodes, 148, something like that. And, you know, I think I worked hard to build a catalog, quote unquote. And my purpose behind that was when it gets discovered, people are going to have a lot to listen to. So that's kind of the point of building the catalog. Because I know, like, if I find a new podcast, I'm like, oh, I got to go back and get more of that. And so I worked pretty hard on building a catalog and pumping stuff out. And I came back to podcasting about this March, a little bit after Buck. I thought I was going to be doing one thing with your peak performance partner, ended up doing another, kind of really liking this, not feeling very peak performance ish. And so basically, yeah, I kind of fired that back up, was thinking about all this stuff, got back on Podmatch, started getting tons of interviews. And I'm like, well, maybe I'll just release interviews, maybe even up to 3 a week. But man, life just has a way of telling you what it needs you to do. And that's not what it wants me to do. That was too much. Um, for me, life right now is like, hey, you do your interviews on Monday, keep up with your Unfiltered Fridays because I enjoy them. And frankly, I miss them if I don't do them. And where else am I going to blab? But yeah, I gave it some thought. And I mean, when you look at the amount of editing, I'm sure somebody out there is listening to this going, oh, I'll just solve your problems and edit. No, I don't need to spend any more money. How about that? Um, but really, it's actually, I'm actually taking a step back to start building the community around the podcast. That's what I want to do. So instead of giving you more episodes, and I still got a ton of interviews, that just means they're going to, yeah, I'm just going to get a little more time to edit them and release them. But yeah, I need to build the community around the podcast. And I don't know if you guys know, but I'm in a podcast accelerator group. It's a group coaching I do through NLU, which I did their group coaching before, but it wasn't podcast related. So we're checking that out. And we have to have goals and all that in there. And, you know, given my data sets that the last 90 days of downloads are half or a little more than half of total, the past 90 days have been more successful than the past year and a half. Therefore, we're going to work on growth in community. So we're going to try to increase downloads by 25%, which I'm going to need your guys' help on that, meaning like, subscribe, and share. And then we're going to work on building the community, some listener engagement, and perhaps getting on. Um, we're going to get more, let's say, try to get some tailored guests or three guests that I really want, I guess would be a goal. Something like that. Um, maybe whether I respect them or they have a bigger following, we'll weave it into goals, something like that. But if you guys see what I'm saying, um, we're talking about building for the future. Yeah. So somehow I managed in about 2 years to get enough episodes that would be almost like, you know, eh, close. An episode a week. What was that, 52? So 104. Yeah, that's 2 years worth of episodes. So yeah, I got at least 2 years worth of episodes. So there's plenty to listen to. Yeah, that's the foundation. And then we're going to start building this community. But yeah, I've been looking, uh, drafting, refining. I need a web page, and we got to get this thing out there a little more. If that's kind of what I'm saying. How are we going to do that? We're going to do that by spitting out the knowledge of what the Ethernet needs. Let them know I'm here. Let them know this is the future. So, in case you don't know and haven't heard about the Men of the House podcast, well, the Men of the House podcast is where unfiltered conversations meet real life fatherhood, self care, and mental health. Hosted by me, Richard Kraft, this podcast dives into the raw, relatable stories of men navigating the chaos of everyday life. From parenting struggles and personal growth to vulnerability, sobriety, and showing up as a better man. Testing out this for a homepage. Why this podcast exists. After being laid off from a career in healthcare leadership during the COVID pandemic, Richard faced a choice: return to corporate life or pursue something more meaningful. On the suggestion of his daughter, he chose the latter. And the Men of the House podcast was born. The name is a nod to the Waffle House, where Richard often found himself sitting solo at the counter. As he glanced at the strangers next to him, one thought repeated: what's their story? That moment sparked the idea for a podcast that tells those untold stories, the ones about fatherhood, masculinity, healing, and rebuilding. A podcast for men who want to go deeper. This isn't your average tough guy podcast. The Men of the House is a space for men who are breaking generational cycles, working on themselves, and trying to lead with integrity in their homes, relationships, and communities. Says Richard believes we are more alike than we are different. If we connect on our common ground instead of fighting over our differences, we can change the world. Why it matters. The podcast has reached far beyond any conference room or corner office Richard once held. 100% true. With every download, DM, and vulnerable story stared, the Men of the House is helping men reclaim their identities, not as providers or protectors alone, but as emotionally present, self aware, values driven human beings. Whether you're a dad, son, husband, or just a man trying to be better than he was yesterday, this space is for you. So, what do you guys think of that? Pretty good? Pretty good for a landing page in the ethers. Yeah. So, if you didn't know, now you know. Also, reminder, I have a private accountability group that is in WhatsApp. I show up there daily. I also have a private accountability group on Facebook. It's not as robust, not as much participation. I need to do more there. Um, yeah, that's what I'm working on building. But there's all those things I need, and it kind of reminds me of what it said about the corner office, and um, I got some new stuff here. It kind of goes back to like go out and be that person you want to meet. If you want a strong circle, check your corners. So if you want to be part of a circle, hit me up. I got your accountability circle. Hmm. Now I sit here and I think, oh, perhaps I should go ahead and release tomorrow's episode as normal and do away with this Unfiltered Friday. Mm. Mm. Good idea. Not good idea. Let's see. And we're back. That was a pause for the cause. Well, actually, because I didn't know what to say. But, all right. Let's go over. I don't even want to talk about it. But that's the only way we get better is by talking about it. And if we can't talk about it here, where are we going to talk about it? Yeah, mental health. Um, Mine's been a little rusty lately. I think I told you guys if you listen to the last Unfiltered Friday, then you know. Mini meltdown. But um yeah, you know, in the past 2 years, I've made so much progress. I lost all this weight, removed all like 8 medicines, and, kind of established a new baseline. But I am very attuned to what's going on, keep tabs on myself. And, I felt like when I had that little meltdown, kind of, I have been recording a pattern of like where it would seem maybe every 3 weeks, um, might hit a low point, then every like I don't know, 6 to 8 months. Feel like you're having a meltdown, kind of, where it just blows up. Um, yeah, patterns. And so, is it a pattern? Is it a true chemical imbalance? Those are things we have to question. Um, what are you going to do about it? You know? So we're trying some different things. Yours truly signed up for some therapy. Yeah, had my initial and get to start that next week. Um, and I'm doing like some group coaching that's kind of going to be therapy type based, maybe. I don't know. I don't know 100%. I'm just along for the ride. I'm at a stage where I've got to take care of this for the long haul. Pointing to my brain for you listeners. And in an effort to take care of that, we're going to go to the people who take care of that, head people. So, yeah, I'm addressing all that. And that's part of another reason of going, I could run myself in the ground. I could release 3 a week. But nah, that's not a long term strategy. You know, I done the Bataan Death March. We did the Mammoth March. It's all about pacing when you're doing these long things. If you want to finish uninjured. And that's what I want to do, metaphorically speaking, yet for my brain and the podcast. So, yeah, the reason for kind of slowing down is that, I got to subtract. When you get the speed wobbles, the answer isn't go faster. Me and one of my traveling friends used to always say that. It's like, so stupid, but you were driving impaired and you have trouble staying between the lines, and your answer is to go faster. That's going to make it easier. No, it's not. That is a like drunken style behavior. So we don't want to do that. We're going to slow down. I mean, just like I didn't exercise today, I'm wearing my whoop. I've had like 5 days, 6 days in a row of red recovery. Um, I was dehydrated when I gave blood like a week ago, roughly ish, somewhere. It's hotter outside. I mean, there are just so many factors and so many things I'm working on. It's like hormones, sleep, head, and they're all related. The head could be because the hormones are off. Head could be because the sleep is off. Sleep is off because the hormones are off. Yeah. So I'm trying to sync all those up, which is getting a little better. I mean, I did successfully get like over 6 nights, 6 hours, 2 nights in a row, then dipped to like a 5:55, but I caught a little hour nap a little later. And yeah, but probably too much information, maybe slightly vulnerable for me. Sometimes I think not, considering some of the things I've said. However, it is. It is. I can assure you. That sigh is the sigh of, mm, yeah. Guess that's the sigh of realization, maybe. Surrender, um, admittance of like, mm, there's some work to be done, but that's okay. Um, yeah. If you have a private accountability group and you can't call yourself out, then what the fuck are you doing? Yeah. So we'll do that. However, it makes me sound like a hot mess. Ugh. But I think it's just like a period, like restructuring. Life has been pretty fast. There's been a lot happen. Like if I look at the past 6 to 8 months, kind of starting and back in October, as I was making a lot of episodes private and whatnot, that really struck me because I was able to see like I interviewed Matt O'Neill, and it was like Arnold Bakes, and there was like some solos in between, and that's kind of where I switched over to all the solos. And so yeah, um, mm-mm-mm. And I can remember having a hard time right before I interviewed Matt. And he had the good word, the good stuff to say. And so, yeah, kind of came at the perfect time. And then that sent me off into caregiving land, where life then changed. And at that point, I was just trying to keep everything going because that that role just was all encompassing. It just required everything because you don't know when you're going to get it, when you're going to do it. Um, you do everything when you can when you're a caregiver because, yeah, especially 24/7 living. And so there was kind of like a different mindset. And then it was like you're going 100 miles an hour, you have all this, and then I kind of had kind of nothing. And then it was like, oh, and then shift gears because I really felt strongly about the men of the house and what this was. And because I didn't want to be like a whatever that was, like fitness type coach. That wasn't what I was going for. But I had taken this course and through all these deductions, that's kind of what it comes up with. Yeah. But as is entrepreneurship, trying to find your way in the world, we keep trying. You knock on doors, you open a few, you look in the room. Eh, maybe not, and you keep going. But this is the door behind which everything lies. Everything I wanted, anyway. This is the door that opens that leads you to the counter of the Waffle House, where that conversation is, where that perspective is, that other point of view, that person letting you know that you ain't the only one, and we're all just human out here doing our best. Yeah, that's where this door leads. And that's why we open that door again. Because, I mean, the men of the house, the Waffle House, FEMA uses them as, what is it, to determine how bad a hurricane or natural disaster is. Yeah, when I'm gone will be the end of the men of the house, unless somebody carries it on. Just like, I guess, when the world self destructs, will be the end of the Waffle House. It'll be the only thing standing. It'll be the last thing standing amid natural disaster and/or uh, World War III. Trying to fucking avoid that. But yeah, you take all that stuff in the world, add it all up, add my trackable, traceable cycles I've been keeping track of. Um, Trying to be a man, trying to be a father, trying to be a husband, the expectations of the world, the expectations I've grown up with, the practicality. Why do you have a master's degree and you're not using it? Um, oh man, society's view of masculinity, toxic masculinity. I mean, I'm Gen X. I came up in kitchens and the military, potty mouth, and now everybody's feelings get hurt over everything. I mean, man, it's a lot to navigate. And so you put all that together and you go, Yeah, putting your head down and grinding and pretending that nothing's going on, not the way to go. The best way, pause, take a breath, assess the situation, and be the thermostat. Instead of reacting to everyone else, and letting everything and everyone around you determine that set temp, I'm going to set my own temp because I need to be the temp for you guys. So we're going to slow it down a hair. You're going to get your interviews on Mondays. Almost like Cleared Hot, one of my favorite podcasts. Um, and hopefully you enjoyed your 3 hour interview on Monday with Lubin. And yeah, you'll get the, I was almost at Full Auto Friday. No, Unfiltered Fridays on Fridays. Um, yeah, one of the biggest things that really stuck out to me, if you didn't hear Lubin's uh, interview, go listen to it. And it's one of the things that kind of keeps me going. And that was, he talked about his father being an entrepreneur because he grew up in Russia controlled Ukraine, and that being an entrepreneur was a privilege. You weren't allowed to own anything. So it's like, hmm. So it's like now when the going gets tough and all that kind of stuff, the dollars aren't rolling in, and I have to go out and Uber. Um, yeah, it when I think about the grind, I'll now think of that. It's a privilege. Yes, it's tough, and it's not for everyone. Don't let anybody convince you that it is. You know, we have a lot of things out there running that need people that just want to show up, retire, and all that. I mean, there's good jobs started by good companies that had good intent. Maybe they all go awry at some point. Not really, not all of them, but you know what I'm saying. Just had an interesting conversation with a pastor slash comedian. He said that kind of he gets a window into like the 25 to 30-year-old age range and talking about what's on their mind. I asked him and he said truth. you know Corporations aren't don't seem trustworthy. News doesn't seem trustworthy. Politics doesn't seem trustworthy. I feel like it's about the same for Gen X, very much. We grew up like very patriotic, believing everything. The war on drugs, Bill Clinton, till you saw what he was about and you saw that he was flawed and you're like, oh, a peek behind the curtain. And then it's like you kind of have this faith and trust in the built systems of what you've been told, the people you've met, um, the people who build it. And then some shit like COVID happens and you realize, oh, oh, no, they lie to everyone. And, I think the thing about like people my age is like, well, we've just been lied to longer. And, yeah. So it's like we have more information readily available, but you have more bullshit to sift through to get to the truth. So it's like now, who do we trust? Um, I had to watch the election cycle every day with Buck. I mean, we know news sites are biased. I mean, podcasts can be. Um, I don't know that maybe some of them are controlled by politically cited entities, but I don't know. This one's not. This one is controlled, all intellectual property of yours truly. So, yeah, as they jokingly say in LU meetings, send all your hate mail to so and so, the business partner. Maybe I'll have you send all the hate mail towards me and go to him. Oh, yeah. But I have no idea what I was. even thinking or where I was going with that. But oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That kind of podcast or the not what do you say? Like non-biased. We just want to have a conversation, person to person. But I don't know. I listen. One of the interesting ones was I listened to Shawn Ryan and Gavin Newsom, and I thought it was a good interview. And if you just listen to it from a point of like one man to another man, I don't know. I felt like there were some things in there like, huh, maybe he didn't like the person. He's like, but he's a father. I wish him luck. It's like, hey, fucking be in a man's heart. Nobody's perfect. Um, but man, I read the comments. That's what I read. And it's like, yeah, I mean, some people, I guess, who live out there, it's like they got their mind made up. One of the interesting things was people seem to forget, I guess, too, when they had said something about defund the police. And he's like, well, some of those are cities, and that's mayoral, not governor, because he's in control of the highway patrol and the National Guard, not the cities. And so, you know, I don't know. Not a political debate. This is not a political show. Nor do I want everybody's fucking hate mail or comments. But I don't know. So many people were quick to hate just because he sat down to have a conversation with them. Um, but the thing is like if you approach everything as adversarial, then adversarial it will be. You're never gonna come to like a conclusion, um, diplomacy of any sorts, unless you sit down and have a conversation without that adversarial, like, there's a difference of approaching something as, hey, we're here to solve a problem versus like, no, we're here to fucking fight. You know? I mean, think about that. If you're squaring up like two UFC fighters getting ready to head into the ring, then, I don't know. I just have this picture because I was just watching The Ultimate Fighter at my dad's, and it's like, okay, they're squaring off. Well, how are you going to get those two to solve a problem? Hmm, maybe you're not. But we're not talking about solving a problem. We're talking about the world here, the world we live in. Your children, my children. Um, what are they going to have if we can't talk? We're going to have a fucking revolution. Do you want to be part of that? Hmm. It's a lot to think about. People are so quick to throw their shit and hate in the comments, but it's like the reality is, I mean, yeah. I mean, what I've seen, words and actions of a lot of things don't line up. But, we just got to ask. I mean, whose words and actions line and don't line? Are people doing what they say they're doing, said they were going to do? Whether it's a party, a person, a side, you know? And that's the whole thing. But also, if you have a conversation, you can check for truth. And if somebody promises something, you can hold them accountable. Um, I don't know, but I don't know how we get to better without, you know, something. You got to open it enough. I don't know what you want to call it. Just have to see how it all turns out. But frankly, it's like I don't want my family and kids and involved in this stuff or the outcome. And mm, I can control what I can control. Have a small circle of influence. Hopefully, it gets bigger through this. But yeah, it's like, are you doing your part? And kind of like my call to action, my tagline: go out and be the person you want to meet. Ask yourself, am I somebody that I'd want to meet? I'm sure if you're a narcissist, then you're going to say yeah, or you're conceited, entitled. Hopefully, if you're any of those people, you're not listening to this. Surely I wouldn't resonate with you because those are my least favorite things in people, entitled people. But you have to ask, am I can 100% say there are days I would not want to fucking meet me. No fucking way. I am an asshole. I can be a dick. Um, phew, man. But overall, yeah, I'm a good person. Try to be helpful, give you the shirt off my back, do what I can. Um, but yeah, I have my moments. But I mean, you look at this conversation, this podcast interview, just because it's a politician and it's so far removed and so far from whatever. If you actually got to meet this person or sit across from Shawn Ryan or Gavin Newsom, either one, let's say it's you, how are you going to act? Would you come spewing that hate? Or if you had a real concern, would you approach them with logical words and say, hey, this is wrong. I need help. We need to fix this. This is an idea. But so far what I've seen, many people are not part of any fucking solution. They're part of the problem. Whether it's words of hate, um, whether they're participating in all of it, tearing shit up, breaking stuff, being part of the problem. Yeah, nothing gets fixed that way. I mean, it's like when you manage people, run a team, oftentimes when there's something new to do, everybody's like, well, we can't because, we can't because. Oh, I don't want to hear why we can't. I want to hear how we can. There's a way. Maybe this one thing takes away two other things. But you see, solutions. I don't see anybody. I mean, I'm sure there's somebody out there looking at solutions, but all the people online aren't. I mean, these conversations are hopefully portals to future solutions, to a future better world. I'm 49. I hope I live 49 more years. um, but regardless, you know, kids, grandkids, my doggo. I mean, don't you want to leave them with something? If you're my age, you're halfway or no, more than halfway. Life expectancy isn't that high in the US. Not as high as it should be or could be. Yeah, these are all problems. What are you doing to contribute besides pissing and moaning? All right. So, There we go. Enough of that. Said I'll keep saying it till I have to, till it fucking lands, till people get it into their thick heads. We're gonna go further together. Okay. We shouldn't have to have disasters to see humanity come together and be nice to each other, okay? Need to be doing it before. We're all gonna get the same end. Care what your bank account looks like, what color you are, who or what you identify as. You, me, everybody. Same ending. Okay? You're not special. And that's what I mean by entitled. So, this is Unfiltered Friday, and it's going to be up, but only till Monday. After that, it's going to be locked in the vault. So, if you want to get the raw reel that we don't clip till the link is in the bio. You got till Monday to hit this up. And then it's going behind a subscription. And it's worth $5. I can assure you. Um, if you don't catch it, run on over to YouTube as I make those private, the ones that would be subscription worthy. I might put them up on Patreon. Let me guys know if you want for the video. But yeah. Yeah. Mm, that's gonna be the deal. So don't miss out. You got till Monday. After Monday, you got the pay. um, all right. But take a little vote. These are some iterations. We're going to start with, we're going to pair it. Go out and be the person you want to meet. These are some of the alternate endings you might hear rolling over depending on the topic of the show. If you're looking for loyalty, show up with it. If you want honesty, lead with truth. If you want depth, stop showing up shallow. If you want consistency, be done with convenience. If you want kindness, stop holding grudges. If you want a strong circle, check your corners. If you want to feel seen, start by seeing others. If you want respect, carry yourself like you mean it. If you're tired of fake, stop faking too. I love that one. If you want better men around you, be one. Mm, mm, mm. Some good stuff right there. And you're going to have to see which one we sign off with each time. But I think for this one, as we talk about the format and building the community, okay, that was the weirdest thing. Zoom just cut out, came back on. It said no internet, went right back into recording. So I have no idea if this saved or what. But in celebration of building the community, the tribe, the circle, go out and be the person you want to meet. And if you want a strong circle, check your corners. Peace.
Asteroid of fear.